Good morning and welcome to StudyIQ. I am Prashant Mavani. I hope you all are doing good, my dear friends. Today is 1st February 2020. Day is Saturday, and because today is Saturday, we have only 4 articles to go through. First one is Unfounded Optimism. This article is about the latest economic survey. It has been released by Chief Economic Advisor. We are going to go through some important points that we find in this editorial. But before that, I would like to introduce all of you to our pen drive and tablet courses, which are designed by the best faculties of our nation. With the help of our pen drive and tablet courses, there are thousands of students who have cleared and cracked various different competitive exams. You can purchase them from our website, that is studyiq.com. Dear friends, still I'm suffering from cold and flu, so I cannot say that I'm feeling that great. So I beg your pardon if I'm sounding a bit rough as far as my voice is concerned. And I'm sure you all are with me and supporting me, so I feel a bit confident about that. Now, to download the PDF of today's lecture, you can get it from my Facebook page. You can join my Telegram channel. I request all of you to share this lecture with other students. Don't forget to hit the like button if you have learned something from today's discussion, and do join or subscribe to our YouTube channel. So, Unfounded Optimism. This one is about economic survey. Now, economic survey, what it is all about? It's basically a report card come blueprint for the future. It tells us about the things that have taken place so far, where we are standing at present, and what is going to be the future of our economy, because it is about economy, isn't it? Now, it is released by, and it's a very important thing for you guys to understand, very basic thing, yet very important. Chief Economic Advisor, the current Chief Economic Advisor, CEA of our country, is Krishnamurthy Subramaniam, and every year, economic survey is released by Chief Economic Advisor of our country. Now, you can find, there are chances that you may find, match the following type of question, in which various different reports, or let's say economic survey, then union budget and other things, and then you have to identify the wrong option or the right option. So here, economic survey, the right option is Chief Economic Advisor. Union budget, the right option is Union Finance Minister, right? So this is just for you guys to understand. And one more thing that I would like to add here is Chief Economic Advisor works under the umbrella of Finance Ministry. And from the name itself, we can understand that a Chief Economic Advisor is a person or an office that will provide advice to the government on matters pertaining to economics, right? So what we find in this economic survey of 2019-20, it's a mixed bag of interesting diagnosis combined with some optimistic prognostications. Prognostications is like prophecy. You know, it's about telling what the future is going to be, or predicting what the future is going to be. So Chief Economic Advisor back in July 2019 projected real GDP growth rebounding to 7% this fiscal. But at present, in the latest one, it has said around 5%. And it's not just economic survey. If you go through National Statistical Office, IMF, you find that there are other agencies out as well, like World Bank, etc. Some are saying that Indian economy will grow around 5%. Some are saying 5.1. Some are saying 4.9. And so it's roughly around 5%. Now, Chief Economic Advisor acknowledges that 2019 was a very difficult year for global economy. And what are the reasons behind it? Right, the first thing is tariff war. Right, tariff war, or you can also call it as a trade war. Trade war taking place between USA and China. Now, why it is important? Because, first of all, this is number one. Number two, we are talking about two largest economies of the world, and when they are in cutthroat competition, or they are against each other, they are not buying things from each other, or they are trying to a sort of tug of war is going between these two big economies, then it will impact the whole supply chain. And in today's world, our world, when we talk about business world or in general as well, in terms of culture as well, we are all connected with each other. Telecommunication, transportation, these things have enabled us to interact with each other and to sell and buy things from each other. And we have this whole supply chain of the world that is interconnected. There are so many companies of USA, American companies are working. They have invested and they have their offices in our country, India, and they are selling things to China. There are so many companies of China working in our country. So basically what I'm trying to say is that we all are interconnected, and because of this USA and China's trade war, we saw its impact on global economy, global growth, and of course, India is also part of global economy. So we saw a negative effect of this, or you can say a negative ripple effect of this trade war on Indian exports as well. There was a slump in demand. One more thing I would like to add here, it's not discussed in this, of course, editorial, but remember, this trade war is more a sort of a front thing. This is something that is more visible. In the background or undercurrent is about technological dominance. Technological dominance, like who is going to rule the world as far as technologies are concerned in next, let's say, 15 to 20 years. And the country who will be ahead in technology will rule the world. And that is something that USA and China are aware about, and they are very serious about this thing as well. And this is one of the main reasons why they are head to head with each other. So yes, global economy, it was a difficult year for global economy. And then it is talking about this National Statistical Office. It has estimated 5% growth rate, GDP growth for 12 months ending in March. I'm sure you'd be aware about this thing, but there are some new students as well. So let me quickly tell you that financial year in India, it starts from 1st April every year and it ends on 31st March next year. So current financial year, it started back in 1st April 2019 and it will end on 31st March. Beg your pardon, it will end on, 31st March 2020, right? It will end on 31st. So this 12 months ending in March, as you can see here, it is written, right? This National Statistical Office estimates that growth is going to be around 5% or at 5%. IMF has said that the stress in non-bank financial industry and decline in credit growth, these are the two things. IMF, International Monetary Fund. So the first one, growth, this issues going on with non-banking financial companies, NBFCs. Now a big NBFC called IL&FS, it was like a big Titanic. So many small NBFCs have provided money to this big one, and this big one, for various different reasons, basically it was financing all those infrastructure projects that were for 20, 25, 30 years. And this company borrowed money from small businesses, small NBFCs, for a short period of time. So because of this big gap, you are giving money for a long period, but you are taking money from NBFCs, small NBFCs, for a short period. So definitely you are going to see yourself in a very bad position, and that's what happened with IL&FS. And because of this thing, this is one of the main reasons why so many NBFCs are in red at present. They are not doing that well. And NBFCs are important for our economy because they are primary source of finance for small and marginal businesses. So this is one reason, and because these NBFCs are not doing very well, so our small and marginal businesses, they are not able to get their loans, and this has resulted in a low credit growth. Credit basically means finance, so, or loan. If you are not getting loan, or if people are not taking loan, or they are not able to take loan, that means that investment is not taking place, isn't it? No investment means no new jobs, no new infrastructure. So this is how it works. Everything is connected. Interestingly, a chapter is devoted to financial fragility in NBFC sector. We have already talked about it, and it recommends there should be a dynamic health index so that we can have early warning system in case if there is any sort of liquidity crisis or any other problem with NBFC. Then we should have a system where we can get early warning so we can control this thing before it it becomes very bad. Downside risks or some negative risks that we may find is continuing global trade uncertainties. Now we know that China and USA, they had their first phase deal, so that's a good news, but still you never know in future what may happen. So things are, means at present they are okay, under control, but in future you never know, because you have a very erratic Mr. Trump, and anything can happen. So this thing, lack of stability is a matter of concern. So global trade uncertainties are there, and then you have this West Asian geopolitical tensions. Recently what happened in Iran, and a country like India, which is importing 85% of its oil from this middle. Generally we 85% we are importing, and a big chunk, around 50% or something, comes from this Middle East region. So if tensions are going on in this part, then it will create negative impact on our economy. Inflation will go up, and because oil supply will get disrupted and inflation will go up, and this will create more problems for our economy. This editorial, or basically this economic survey, is also saying that we need to get rid of this Essential Commodities Act in 1955. It was enacted when our country was going through famines and shortages in food items. But this Essential Commodities Act, why they are problematic? Because they restrict our farmers. They don't allow our farmers to sell items in international market when they can get good prices, because it talks about fulfilling domestic demand first, and then so this is an only thing that is, means this thing you find only in agriculture, right? If cars are in high demand, then we don't find this sort of restriction in exports of car. In fact, we export more cars if they are in demand. But when it comes to food items, there is a sort of break on it, or there is a wall. You have to clear this. You have to get a visa, a sort of thing, like you need to take permission, and there are stretches where you cannot sell items. So this is not good for our farmers. Drug Prices Control Order 2013 has not created any sort of benefit for our people. It has not made drugs affordable. So we can get rid of it as well. CEA also wants a proper policy on food grains storage, like FCI. It's a paradox that on one side we have tons and tons of food items stored in our godowns, and on the other side we see lakhs, 10 lakh, 12 lakh people, or more than that, crores are have to sleep hungry. They are suffering from malnutrition and other things. So distribution, we need to make it a bit more. Management of food should be more decentralized. So these are the things that we find in today's editorial. And here you have some infographic. Number one economy is, in terms of size, 21.4 trillion USA. Then it's followed by China. Then you have Japan after a big gap. Then you have Germany, and it's closely followed by India. Fiscal deficit, it was 5.4 between 2009 and 14, but it has dropped to somewhere around 3.3 budget estimate. Then we have India abroad. This one is about CAA. Now, European Union Parliament, they are discussing CAA, and they have recently said that India should be very careful about this thing. Parliamentarians in UK and US congressmen are also talking about the CAA, and they have asked India to reconsider the law and to engage with the protesters. EU parliamentarians went a step further, putting out 6 different and extremely critical resolutions. And they have also said that the CAA and NRC can create the largest statelessness crisis in the world. Now, of course, India is not happy with this sort of statements, and this is not good as well for our country. Our diplomats are working on this thing. They're engaging with all these players and different institutions who are talking about our CAA or law that has nothing to do with them, but that is a purely domestic law. So India is engaging with them, and finally this European parliamentarians, they have agreed, or EU has agreed, that it is going to put off this voting, because next month, that is in March, Prime Minister Modi is going to visit Brussels, and a free trade agreement is going to be discussed between European Union and India. It is very important for EU as well as India. Joining RCEP, is not, means this EU FTA is more important for India than joining RCEP. So you can understand that because we have a good surplus as well, and there are so many things that we can sell to these countries. With RCEP, things were like, we are already in deficit, and if we allow this RCEP, or if we join RCEP, then we may see a tsunami of Chinese products in our country, and our concerns were not addressed. So this is important. Brussels visit is important for both India as well as European Union. And this is the reason why they have decided that for time being this voting will not take place. The government has called this a diplomatic victory, and it has blamed Pakistan. There are a few like British MEP, that is member of European Parliament, who is a Pakistani occupied Kashmir origin person, and he's been quite vocal about this thing, and this has created this sort of environment. That's what India has said. But one thing we have to keep in mind is that there are 626 MEPs, member of European Parliaments, out of total 751, who have originally drafted the 6 resolutions. So just blaming Islamabad or Pakistan is not fair, and it's not enough. We have to engage positively with all these countries, as well as we have to also clearly tell all of them that this is India's internal law. They don't have any right to interfere with sovereign countries. But I'm not saying this negatively. It's very positive. This is how it works. And one more thing that I would like to add here is that the reason why they are talking, see, you will find countries and platforms talking about us, but they talk about us more, or the reason why they talk about is because still we are in a transition. We have not developed country completely. We are strong now than what we used to be, but still we need more strength, we need more maturity, economically, technologically. And once you are at your peak, once you are the strongest, then these countries or these platforms will not talk about you. So still we are somewhere here, I would say. So we have to cross this distance, and once we reach at peak, then they will not talk about it. This is something that we have to understand. It works in our society as well, and it works in global platform too. Indian diplomats seem to be overwhelmed keeping out any negative references to India at official fora. Basically, rather than spreading positive things, our diplomats are busy in rubbing these negative things. That's what this article is talking about. Moving on to next item, a sneeze, a global cold, and testing times for China. Now, of course, we have talked about coronavirus. It's not something new. We have gone through map as well. We have gone through some infographics as well. So I'm going to be very quick here. And I'm sure if you go through this article is important. Of course, from revision point of view as well, it is important. And if you go through this whole article, if you'll read, you will find that it's very easy for you to understand, because the background, the background very well now of this coronavirus. Yesterday as well, we were talking about this coronavirus. So briefly, the year of the rat. This is how year of tiger, year of rat, and year of other things. That's how this Chinese calendar works. I'm not sure exactly how it works, but I used to have a friend. He used to talk about, he was from China basically, so he used to tell me about this. The years, year of tiger, I remember year of dragon, then they have year of rabbit and year of rat and things like that. So basically it's this year of rat has begun on an inauspicious note for China. Novel coronavirus has claimed 200 plus lives, and 10,000 plus are confirmed. We have confirmed cases of infected people. WHO has declared it as a global emergency. Earlier on it was animal to person, but now it is person to person as well. And we have this rapid urbanization, not just in China but in different parts of the world, and this is one of the main reasons why animals and humans are living in a very closer proximity. Now, Kerala, we find one patient who is affected, and that patient is isolated at present. Chinese Lunar New Year began on 24th of January, and normally, just like Diwali, people travel back home, they visit their town, and so traveling is quite large in numbers, and this also, is one of the main reason why it has spread in different parts of the country as well as the world. So, traveling and this long holiday played a very important role. Now, back in 2002, 2003, there was the severe acute respiratory syndrome. It is also known as SARS, and it killed some 800 people and 8,000 were affected. In 2002, it has been estimated, back in 2002, there was $30 to $100 billion loss in economy because of this virus, this SARS. Nipah is, Nipah is in our recent memory. In recent past, Kerala was struggling with this Nipah, and it's also a zoonotic. Zoonotic basically means from animal to human beings, a virus or a disease that spreads from animal to human beings. So Nipah is also a zoonotic one, and Kerala was struggling with it. But the good thing about Kerala is that, or how they dealt with it was, rather than waiting for central government, Kerala government, local administration, and the state started to look after, to do everything that is possible. They left no stone unturned. They tried every trick in the book to control this, and only 17 deaths took place, and luckily, this local authorities prevented the spread of this Nipah in different parts of our country. Now, for a country like India, we have to be very careful with this sort of new viruses, because already we are suffering from dengue, malaria, influenza strains and other things. And on top, you have this difficult viruses coming in, some new viruses coming in. So government has to create a proper disease surveillance program. We need to strengthen it, and it should be nationwide. Precautions, or you can say proactive approach is something that is still missing in our country. We have acute shortage of epidemiologists, microbiologists, and entomologists in our country. So human resource, we cannot now, when we are thirsty, we cannot dig the well. So we have this shortage. We know what's required. So we should take steps right now, so that in future we don't see this sort of acute shortage of human resource. And proactive approach is the only thing, because climate change, with new things taking place, new challenges we are going to face. So we cannot, the earlier approach of reactiveness is not going to help. Moving on to next item, this is thinking beyond farm SOPs. This is going to be the last one. So this one is this thinking beyond the farm SOPs is saying that 2019 witnessed a series of interventions and disruptions in farm sector. As far as intervention or good thing was concerned, Prime Minister Kisan, that is Kisan Samman Nidhi, with a record allocation of 75,000 crore was launched. Under this, PM Kisan, farmers, each and every single farmer in our country will get 6,000 rupees per year. You get money in installments of 2,000 each every 4 months. You get in total you get 3 installments. The second half was good. This one, in second half of 2019, we saw disasters taking place, droughts and floods in various different parts of country. And because of droughts and floods, the production got affected. And because of this thing, the production of various different vegetables and fruits, particularly vegetables, was affected. And because of this thing, onion prices were skyrocketing, other vegetable prices were skyrocketing. So inflation was quite bad. At present, things are getting there slowly. And when you have this sort of inflation, and when you have this two big issues, on one side you have growth slowdown, when you have demand is slowing down, consumption is coming down. On the other side, when consumption is down, when demand is down, what you do is you reduce the price of that product so that people will purchase it or pick it up. But when you have inflation on the other side, when you have this sort of tricky situation where you cannot reduce loan rate or other things because inflation is quite high, so this becomes very tricky and challenging. So these two things, this PM Kisan and this slowdown thing has proved that populist measures have a low bearing on the economy. And second thing is, despite several measures, we are still vulnerable to climate-induced disasters, and we suffer losses, and particularly our farmers. So this article is saying that government should spend more on livestock and fisheries. It can work as a safety net. It can help farmers, fulfill their own requirements, and whatever extra they can produce, they can sell it in the market when it comes to livestock and fisheries, animal husbandry, and other related allied activities. So this is something that should be promoted. Second thing is, it is also talking about increasing the expenditure on R&D. At present, it is 0.40% of our agricultural GDP. We need to increase it to 1% of our agriculture GDP. New innovation will lead us to new ways and new profit, new ways of selling things or producing things, and it will help our farmers. It also talks about climate smart villages. Now, climate smart villages are villages with digital technologies, forecast, where you can sell items, early warning systems, and all these things. This one is also talking about, this article is talking about farmer producer organizations. Now, this is one of the most important point, FPO. FPO is basically a group where you have all different farmers. So many farmers will become part of this FPO. Then you produce whatever things that you produce, you sell it directly. So you have this, when you are together, when you are in unity, you have work as a single entity. You have a great negotiation power. You can bypass this agriculture produce market committee that has so many traders, and they are the ones who are making more profit than our farmers. So our farmers can sell directly to the other parties or factories or places or people who need food items. So we can directly sell it. So we need to promote more farmer producer organizations. It should be connected with ENAM and other things, so that our farmers can make more money. It's also talking about this key farm institution and organizations in frontline of farm services, dealing with perishables, like using with the help of this farmer produce organization, you can create warehouse or cold chain facilities in different parts. Whatever you earn, you will give a chunk of it to this FPO. You will have a share as well, of course, but you will give it so that the properties can be created, like storage facility, transportation facility, and things like that. Small-scale investment measures or incentive-based system is essential to scale up sustainable practices. And support should be given, like agroforestry. You have a piece of land, and you are using part of your land for planting those forest trees. So this will help in environment, protecting our environment, and climate smart agriculture, ecosystem services. All these things should be supported, but support should be given to all those farmers who are taking positive steps. If you are following sustainable practices, and if you are promoting environment, then yes, you should be incentivized. We can connect our CSR, corporate social responsibility, with our farmers or with our agriculture. So the money that is coming, the expertise that is coming from these factories or these companies, they can be channelized, and their expertise, their way of doing things can benefit our farmers. And it's talking about creating a farming index where we can see the performance of various different states. It will create a healthy competition as well between states. And it talks about setting up 2 institutions. One is just like Goods and Service Council and National Agricultural Development Council under the chairmanship of Prime Minister. And it's talking about independent institution like Farmers Welfare Commission that has members from both central as well as state government. So that's everything, dear friends. These are some of the news items. CAA fulfills a wish of Gandhiji, has been said by President. Execution of Nirbhaya convicts postponed till further orders. That's very sad. It's very sad to see the mother of Nirbhaya crying. It makes us feel pain. And it's also sad that this is one of the most famous case in our history. And took nearly 7-8 years now, 7 years plus to reach to a logical conclusion. So this will give a wrong image to all those, it will send a wrong signal to all those potential criminals. Be aggressive on CAA has been said by Prime Minister, and Foreign Secretary takes up major revamp at MEA. Can you give me the name of new Foreign Secretary of our country? And that's everything in today's discussion, dear friends. Tomorrow is Sunday, so there will be no lecture, but I'll see you on Monday now. Enjoy your studies, and I hope by Monday things will be all right with me as far as my health is concerned. And enjoy. Jai Hind.